Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another episode of Testing in Nutshell. This is Dinesh Kumar Singh and today we are getting into the second part of the Agile methodology, or I can say this is the second tutorial where we'll be understanding a little more detail about the Agile methodology. The topic which we'll be covering as a part of this tutorial is Agile Manifesto, where Agile Manifesto is just not a concept, it's a collection of 4 core values of the Agile methodology, which talks about the important characteristics of the Agile methodology, which makes it different from the traditional approaches. So what exactly is Agile Manifesto and how exactly it creates a uniqueness when compared to other different traditional models, we will be understanding in a short while. So without taking much of your time, let's get started and understand more about what is Agile Manifesto. In this tutorial, we will be understanding that what exactly is Agile Manifesto. Agile Manifesto is basically a collection of 4 core values which is applied to the Agile methodology in order to create the uniqueness of the Agile methodology when compared to the traditional models. So yes, Agile basically is a set of different core values put together, which makes it unique in terms of the characteristics and the practices, which is definitely different from the traditional approaches. So we have 4 core values which makes Agile Manifesto. Maybe if you want, you can just pause this video for a second and then think about the 4 core values, that what it could be. Well, I think some of you would have got exactly what we are talking about. If not, let's talk formal about the same thing. To begin with, the very first core value of the Agile Manifesto is individuals and interaction over processes and tools. When you talk about the individuals and interaction, which was more importance given in Agile methodology when compared to traditional model, where the teams were separately distributed. Now, when we talk about separation, of course, the team were independent of each other. They were so independent that the interaction was through the electronic medium or maybe through the mails or any other different mode of communication. But face-to-face interaction was highly reduced when it came to traditional development models. Whereas when you talk about the Agile methodology, we give importance to individuals and interaction and put them at one particular place so that they have a good collaboration and as well as very transparent communication. And not only the interaction, the individuals also play a vital role. The Agile team comprises of members who are very well self-organized and motivated in order to take up the task and start working on their own. Team, let me tell you here that the Agile team does not really have a boss or maybe a leader who instructs them that what you will be doing today. Thus, the first manifesto says that individuals and interactions are over process and tools, where traditional approaches invited be giving more importance to the process which we make use of and the various tools which we were trying to make use of. Thus, the important factors that you need to consider are the people and how they work together in the Agile methodology. Because we do have a good saying, a fool with a tool is still a fool, which means that no matter I give you a highly qualified able, capable enough tool to work with a particular process, but if you don't know how to make use of it and the people are not capable enough to make most out of it, then still it is a fool. So yes, the tool is not something which really matters. The most important thing which matters is that individuals and their interaction in order to make most out of the process. Principle number 2, working software over comprehensive documentation. Makes sense, right? When you talk about the working software, which is the only primary measure of the progress on a project in Agile methodology over comprehensive documentation. If you again compare this particular manifesto with the traditional approaches, the comprehensive documentation was the only thing which we did as a part of the traditional approaches and processes, where we created a lot of heavy documentation, but at the end of the day might not be meeting the expectation of the customer. But here in Agile methodology, working software is something which is given more importance when compared to creating a detailed documentation, which simply says one thing, that What if you create a lot of documentation in detail which could be having all the information and necessary details which you might need at any point of time, but you don't deliver the product which the client wants? It's of no use. It's all the waste what you have done entirely to create a documentation. Thus, working software is the primary measure for the progress on the project. That if you are delivering something which is going to meet the expectation of the client by making it work is more important than creating a heavy documentation which not helps you to create or meet the expectations of the customer. Yes, at the same time, when you talk about this principle in more detail, that when you ask a user whether they would want this, or a 50-page document describing what you intended to build, or actual software itself, what do you think they will pick? Of course, they will say, can you please show me a piece of working code that what exactly I want, and have you built the same thing or not? So never forget that the primary goal of software development is to create the software, not documentation. Otherwise, it would be called documentation development process, right? So yes, we follow this manifesto as a part of the Agile Manifesto. At number 3, we have customer collaboration over contract negotiation. It used to happen in traditional days that we used to discuss more on the negotiation of the contract, be it the time, be it the effort, be it the budget, or any other conditions which the customer put for us in order to create the development of the application. Where contract negotiation just meant that we were looking forward to have more time when creating this product, or negotiating in order to deliver the product on time or meeting the deadlines, where we had a lot of such things to be dealt with. But here in Agile methodology, we said instead of negotiating on these things, why don't you join or ask us, the customers, to come and collaborate with you, which will help you in many means. One, the customer will see his application being built live in front of him. Also, at the same time, if you have any confusions, any doubts, any changes, any modifications to be done, can be done simultaneously. No longer wait that you send something to the customer internally discusses and then gives you an approval to proceed with that. But here you can have the customer right sitting next to you and give you a lot of inputs in order to emphasize on the changes or even modifying the product in such a way that it meets the customer expectations. So instead of talking about negotiating on the contract and fulfilling the needs of the expectation that you need extra time and more effort to be required to be done here, rather customer collaboration can keep the customer aware that what exactly you're doing and also help you to minimize a defect to a lot of extent. Because customer will be correcting you now and then with all the details and accuracy what you want to put in your product. And don't forget that only your customer can tell you what they want, not anyone else. So if customer is a part of your process, then definitely they will tell you that this is not the one what I'm looking for. Can you improvise this further? Can you make it something like this, which I actually looking for? So don't forget your customer. Rather in Agile, we collaborate with them. At number 4, we give importance to responding to change over following a plan. Don't forget, a plan is always a plan, which might not be the same. As an instance, you may plan for an event right today about something which is going to happen 3 months down the line. And maybe during the time of this particular span, a lot of things will change according to the real-time statistics. So when you come to that event which you have planned for after 3 months, maybe the plan will not work, what you planned for. Maybe some of the people will back off, or the event will be cancelled due to rain, or maybe some of the unforeseen situation can happen which might not let you perform that activity. Thus, following a plan is not the best way to deal with your access and projects. So, responding to change is something which meets and satisfies the customer. The end goal of Agile methodology is just not meeting the expectation, but satisfying your customer in such a way that customer feels that yes, each and everything was built according to me, and I was aware of all these changes, and definitely the changes were very well accommodated. So you give your happy customer with that happiness that if you have any changes in your requirement, feel free to let us know. We don't have anything standard, we don't have anything rigid, we don't have anything fixed. If you have something which makes your customer your product more better, just feel free to let us know, and we are welcoming those changes in order to meet your expectations. So responding to change is more important than following your rigid plan, which might not make your customer fulfilled and happy. Additionally, don't forget that nothing ever goes entirely on the plan. The plan is always a plan, but instead of sticking with something that isn't working, it is much more effective to make adjustments as your situation changes. And not only the changes which in terms of the customer expectation or requirements. Even when you start executing and proceeding with your work, if you see that your plan is not going to help you reach that quality or achieve that target which you want to achieve, you are free to modify and tweak yourself in order to meet the expectation. Because at the end, you want to achieve goal and success for both the way. One, your effort, what you're putting to make that product work, and second, the customer, which is going to be satisfied with your extreme work. So yes, when you talk about Agile Manifesto, it's all about following the values which is created as a part of Agile Manifesto's core value. But following the values isn't always easy. But when you build them is your team's process itself. Like if you make that happen, then it becomes a standard process within your organization. You will definitely get a better software project by following these core values. Well, is that all we have got? No, we have got something more to explore and beyond on these core values. The 4 core values of Agile Manifesto are illuminated by 12 principles which further break these manifesto into more detail and definitely assist the Agile software development process. So don't worry about that. We'll be discussing in the next tutorial. So stay tuned for that. We'll be getting into more and more understanding of how Agile Manifesto is being developed with help of 12 different principles. So stay tuned for that. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'll be there to address your queries and answer them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep understanding the context. Take care, team, and happy learning.